Okay, guys, this is for Module 4, Section 2. So everything that says 4.2, that is what this is referring to. All right, so we are at the point where the revolution is beginning, right? There's no more just being tense in the colony, between the colonies and Britain, right? Now things are going down. There is starting to be actual violence and talk of revolting, right? This is just the first screen where I'm going to post this video, but I'm also going to leave the rest of the slides available to you in case you want to read them at your own pace. All right, so our main idea is that the tensions between the colonies and Great Britain are starting to lead to armed conflicts. So just like I said, in 1775, now things are getting physically violent. All right, so these are just our main ideas. I tried to put them on a timeline for you so that you can see exactly what happened. All right, we'll talk about these more as we go through, but the only one that is not going to be talked about a lot is the Boston Tea Party. Right, that's why it doesn't have a color-coded main idea, because that is something that happened previously. But the Boston Tea Party is what resulted in those intolerable acts, right? And the intolerable acts, so when they were forcing the colonists to let soldiers live in their houses, right? They taxed pretty much everything. Okay. That is what led to the First Continental Congress in 1774. All right, so that's the main idea that we're starting with. The First Continental Congress started demanding rights from Great Britain in 1774. Right? So, like we've said, there are two Continental Congresses. This is the very first one that met in 1774, and all of the colonies except Georgia. Georgia wants no parts of this. Georgia was like, we love the king. Don't even talk to us about banding together against him, right? So the other 12 colonies sent people to Philadelphia to talk about what they should do about all these things going on with Britain, right? What they decided, so the second bullet, what they decided is that they were going to stop trading with Britain, which would really mess up the amount of money Britain is getting. They're no longer trading with Britain, and they told the colonial militias. So, reminder, the militia is just an untrained army to prepare for war. So, all of those Minutemen in the militias, all of those regular people who should be ready to fight at a minute's notice, right? They said, hey, we're not trading with Britain. Get ready just in case something goes down, right? And at this point, they were really hoping to still stay peaceful with Britain. They did not want to fight. They were just kind of starting the militias to be prepared. Okay. They ended up drafting the Declaration of Rights, which talks about life, liberty, and property. That is something that is going to eventually get switched around in the Declaration of Independence. And those colonists who decided to fight for independence from Britain became known as the Patriots. Right, so to summarize this slide, First Continental Congress includes delegates from all of the colonies except Georgia. Okay, they were hoping to stay peaceful with Britain, but they did halt all trade with Britain and tell their untrained armies or militia that they should get ready just in case something happens. Right? And all of those people who said, listen, we'll fight for Britain, they're called the Patriots. All right, this next slide, I just really wanted to get it clear, the names of who is fighting on what side. So take a look on the left. These are the people who are fighting for the colonies. All right, you have your patriots, like I just said. They are fighting for independence. So think of when people say the 4th of July is patriotic, meaning that patriots are people who feel strongly about where they live and really are willing to fight for it. Okay? The other people who fought for the colonies, which the colonies are always going to be the people represented in blue, are the Minutemen, right? That's that militia or those regular people who said, listen, we're untrained, but we'll fight, who were expected to be ready to fight in a minute's notice. So, patriots is a more broad term, Minutemen is the militia. The difference I will not expect you to know, but I do need you to know that both of them fought for the colonies. On the right of your screen, these are the people who fought for the British. All right. The British Army was called the Redcoats. All right. They are called this because they wore these bright red coats, just like in the picture. Okay. Bright red coats and uniforms were expensive. That's how you should remember. The Redcoats fought for Britain and they were able to wear these bright red coats because Britain had money, right? Lastly, the Loyalists, they did not particularly fight for Britain, but they are just colonists who stayed loyal to Britain. So the Loyalists are still on the side of Britain, even though they live in the colonies. All right, main idea two. So now we're in April of 1775. All right, in April of 1775, armed conflict between British soldiers and colonists broke out. Right, so now we're kind of, oh, maybe we'll get ready for war in April. It's happening. All right, this leads us to the very famous Ride of Paul Revere. So the Massachusetts Governor Thomas Gage, who was a very mean loyalist, meaning he was on the side of Britain, sent British troops to go get all of their weapons from a place called Concord. Paul Revere heard about this and he rode his horse through Lexington and Concord, knocked on the door of all those patriots and said, the British are coming, be ready, right? The British are coming, get ready to fight. The British are coming, help us. Right? So those Minutemen who were warned said, this is my time. I have 1 minute to be ready. They grabbed their guns and they were ready to fight. So after all of this warning, there actually were battles that occurred, right? So the goal of the British was to get to Concord, but Lexington was kind of on the way. And the Patriots, or the people fighting for the colonies, really wanted to stop them in Lexington before they got to Concord. So in April 1775, the British troops arrived in Lexington, and this is the very first time somebody shoots. Right? There's been all this tension and a lot of talk going on. But other than the Boston Massacre, this is the first time that the colonists and the British soldiers actually shoot at each other, right? That's called the shot heard around the world because the entire world was kind of waiting to see what happened in between the tension of the American colonists and the British. So the British soldiers continued. They did not care about this shot. They still really want to get to Concord. But they're forced to go back to Boston, right? And when they're forced to say, listen, this mission isn't going to work, we have to return to Boston, those bright red jackets that they had that signaled their money and power, right? They ended up being something that was really bad for them because it made them an easy target. They're wearing bright red, they didn't blend in with anything. So the Patriots fighting for the colonies, or the Minutemen who fought for the colonies, would see their red coats and shoot them down as they were on their way back to Boston. All right, so now that happened, the Continental Congress goes, okay, we need to meet up again, right? So in May, I have to change that. I'm sorry, it should say May. In May 1775, the Continental Congress goes, listen, we do not have any time to wait anymore. We need to start preparing now. Okay? And hello?